share, comment, subscribe. Welcome to the show. Please spam with the shadow, illuminates from the soul. Knowledge yourself, you probably sitting on a pot of gold. Tell me in the chat, you think we from Africa? Really though? The wrong perspective will cloud your judgment. I mean, somebody could tell you somebody you wasn't. Pay more homage and less worship. You tired of being a pushover than be assertive. Politics is just an old ancient secret circus. It gets deeper the more you go in below the surface. You gotta learn to deal with trauma, be your own savior. My old earth gave me birth to God, one with nature. I'm an American Indian. Fight for the rights of my native land. I'm an American Indian. Fight for your rights, fight for your life. Eastern Shore, Mississippian, down by the river. Black man, red skin, bunch of Indian givers. Real side of Shakur, prisoners of the war. Return of the matriarch, the return of the God. East side, muddy water, we indigenous tribes. Black Wall Street, I run a family business of mine. Straight out the gutter, word the mother, high chief on the rise. They read the Bible translation, but ain't reading the scribe. Keep it G, Cherokee, Gullah Geechee, the gang. You know how it is, everybody got beef with the king. Turtle Island, we steppin', can't let them kill our connection. You know the mind and the tongue be the deadliest weapons. I'm an American Indian. Fight for the rights of my native land. I'm an American Indian. Fight for your rights, fight for your life. I am a real American. Fight for the rights of my native land. I am a real American. Fight for your rights, fight for your life.
So this right here is the other side. So you can actually see the pyramid and the steps, but you also see the sign who's in control of it.
Yourself, you probably sitting on a pot of gold. Tell me in the chat, you think we from Africa? Really though? The wrong perspective will cloud your judgment. I mean, somebody could tell you somebody you wasn't.
First name's Donnie, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. You know, when I was a little boy, I remember watching cowboy and Indian movies, and I always wanted the Indians to win. I don't know about you, but I always wanted to see the Indians win. I don't know why. And I remember around elementary school, back then they had, how many of y'all remember G.I. Joes? Well, this wasn't G.I. Joe. Doggone Traveler, B1 family, what up with you? This was Geronimo dolls. They had a Geronimo doll. Matter of fact, I got one every year. Love the Geronimo. That might be a little too old for some of y'all. G.I. Joe's, G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip, and then there was like Johnny West. I'm going way back. Johnny West. But there was also the my Matthew Alexander Henson brother. Big up to Matthew Henson. There was also the Geronimo dolls. Hannibal James. Cut your camera on, man. Are you just tuning in? Let's bring you on up. What's happening with you?
Hey, not much. How you doing today, Donnie?
Oh, come on, man. You had to lift that up, man. You had to lift that up, man. Come on, man. What's up with you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm just chilling. You know what I mean? You know I am.
Was you at a funeral or something? Damn.
Oh, no, brother. No, brother. How you doing today?
Well, I'm gonna cheer you up today. I promise you, I got a special presentation for you tonight.
Oh, okay.
Make sure the young man is in here.
Peace, family. Peace, family. How y'all feeling?
What up, though, Murphy?
Hello to BC in the chat. Peace and power.
What up, though, BC?
All right. So we got a special guest today. We got a young lady named Patty.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Patty.
Oh, hi. How y'all doing?
Awesome.
Peace. How you feeling, Patty?
Great. I'm feeling great today.
Then
So I'm gonna start off slow because Donnie will say, "This is the Doni Glover Show, Patty." Because I like
no. I got a new one for you, Mafia Shakur. I'll pass you the ball, but I'm gonna tell you something. Years ago, nobody told me this. You about to learn a very valuable lesson. I'm gonna see if you can handle your money. I'm gonna see if you're gonna let her take the steering wheel from you. Years ago, I brought Catherine Pugh on my show up at WEAA, Morgan State University, and she taught me a valuable lesson. If you don't dominate your mic, Patty will take your mic from you.
No, I'm not. Don't believe that.
Good luck, Mafia. I'll be watching.
How you doing today?
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah,
so who's gonna start talking? Come on now.
Yeah, I was very actually. So, what's your your accolades? Tell me about yourself.
I am the director of outreach at Sankofa's Children's Museum of African Cultures.
Okay.
So, have you heard of the museum?
No, ma'am. What is that detail?
Wow. So we are the only museum of its type in the United States. And we are 365 days of African history. We don't get into slavery because our history didn't start with slavery, but that's who we are. So you're going to have to look us up and come over to some of our events sometimes so that you can really get involved in Africa. Because in Baltimore City, there are children that have never left the neighborhood. So when they come over, when they come there, it's an opportunity for them to become engaged in not just, people think of Africa, they think of the Congo and the desert, but that's not what we're about. We dig into the 54 countries, and it's about the food. It's about the African rhythms. It's about the history, how things were made, the civilizations. It's a lot for 2 hours.
Could you tell us about any current exhibits you guys got going on now?
Well, we don't change the exhibits because we do everything by regions.
Okay.
So if a school organization comes in and says, we want to talk about the Eastern region, then that's what we're going to focus on. And when I say we're a museum, we have more artifacts in that museum than the BMA and the Walters. And what other museum is it? The BMA, the Walters, those two. Those are the biggest. We have more artifacts there.
So do you guys got any exhibits about our history here, pre-colonial times?
Yes, absolutely. Because all that's going to be done, all that again is going to be done by regions because each region is different. So when people start talking to us about February and Black History Month, we're like, where y'all want to begin? Because our history is just not Black History Month. It's just not those 30 days in February. So we like to start in Portugal and talk about our African divers that actually helped bring the boats over, to help to get them through the waters to get to Africa. But at that point, it wasn't about slavery. It was about...
All right. Y'all don't let her hijack the show. This show is about Indigenous America.
No, I'm listening.
She gave enough.
I'm listening to hear a point. Because
I'm not trying to get cussed out in the chat, bro, because they don't want to hear nothing about Africa on this show. Y'all you might want to...
Well, let's start here. Let's start here. Today is Remembrance Day.
Patty,
it's Remembrance Day.
Patty.
And I want to say,
slow down.
The question is, how does this African culture relate to Indigenous American culture? Because the way we was told the transatlantic slave trade and all of these things is confusing to people who don't believe that we come from America originally. See, we come from global societies. So in that instance, we was all over the planet at a time.
Everywhere.
So the origin of certain African culture is like a programming, just like everything else has been. It's a programming of this Afrocentric concept when we have a American-centric concept of our ideology, because of we know what transpired on the land between the tribes, between, like you say, the Portuguese and these people who came to America and who have predicated their ideas and their ideologies and their religions on us as well.
Okay, and I wanted to start with that because today is what Congress has deemed as Remembrance Day. So Remembrance Day is because of a person, I'm not even going to say his name because this person taught racism and just threw out division across this country. So I wanted to say that Indigenous People Day, which was Monday, and today is Remembrance Day, when you look at the correlations between Indigenous people and Africans, everything was whitewashed because it was taken away. The Indians were already here. So I can say Africans became slaves and rebuilt the country. And then I can go back and say Indigenous people lost their land, lost their heritage and cultures because they were whitewashed. Nobody wanted to talk about it. And what's sad about that is when I think of where the world is today, it's the younger people and the cultures that really keep history and heritage alive through our music, through our art, what goes on in our communities. And a lot of the older people, a lot of the Indigenous people being nomads, a lot of them, because they're being pushed off of the land, they're traveling across the country.
So
they
would you say?
They don't have the information out there. If you go to the what is it?
So would you say that you have African genes or you have indigenous genes?
Well, from my history that I know, I have both, because my mother's father was part of the Piscataway tribe. And believe me, I tried to find everything about them. I went all down in Washington and I went into that Native American museum and said, can somebody tell me about the Piscataway Indians? They only had 3 pictures, 3. And the reason they had those 3 pictures is because they were nomads and they were traveling across the country as they were being chased off of their land. But then when you go to the African Museum, the African History Museum in DC, it's a room that has a map, and it shows the Indigenous people moving across the country.
Right.
And in some portions of the country, they settled. So this history was being.
Where did the Africans come from? This is the part, because even in doing my own personal genealogy, I would find more Europeans than Africans. I'm into the 1400s in my genealogy, and it's still no African. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So have you done an African ancestry test?
Of course, if I do an African ancestry test, they're going to tell me I'm African because I'm asking to be African. Even if you look into the genealogy, if you cross-reference it, it tell you that most people who are Cherokee are being reclassified as Nigerian. So the programming of this institution, of this Pan-Africanism, is being promoted as well as people are trying to discover, because people want to feel belonging to something because we have been stripped of everything for so long. So that's on a spiritual concept, if you tell me that something that I came from was at a certain point, now I have to cross-reference that as to what I know. See, doing the research, I don't find no African whatsoever. So the whole African concept, if on prior shows we had reference to the African company who did trade as well, who brought that African concept and that mind to what we are. So the building of this African concept has been great, just as great as the religious concept that has been brought to the people.
I agree with you 100%. And I'm also going to say, when it comes to doing the ancestry kits and the genealogy, it depends on where it's coming from and how many people are participating in that. Because the first time I did my ancestry, I did it on ancestry.com. My mother was part Piscataway, but her grandmother was Irish. So when I did my my ancestry thing, yes, it came up in Europe. I had Wales and England, but I also had Benin and Sierra Leone. And I was really curious about the percentages of that because they were more than my Indian. Of course,
so Patty, let me just jump in on my show. We don't believe nothing that these people tell us. Now, let me not
Who's
speak
these
for everybody
people?
else.
Who's these people?
I don't believe anything that the ancestry people say.
Okay, ancestry.com.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
I have never seen them identify the Native American in us, ever. And if anybody in the chat has been categorized by ancestry.com, if you melanated and they told you what peoples you come from, please put it in the chat. But hold tight, Patty. This is a dialogue, and you're not going to dominate. Hannibal.
Okay, go ahead.
Hannibal, any thoughts on ancestry.com? Are you a believer in their works?
You know, I'm a believer in like taking a raw data and uploading it into other places and deciphering it. Then you get what I mean? I think they like she said that they can give you different ethnicities and give you different locations, but you can take the raw data and put it into other places and get a better picture.
Correct.
So
and that's all I was going to say, because African ancestry, when I did it was definitely Sierra Leone. That's where most of my bloodline came from.
So I'm glad you said that. Do you speak any Sierra Leonese?
No, I do not.
Have you ever met a Black person in America who speaks an African language?
Yes.
Their native tongue?
Yes.
I mean, a person that's been here.
I was going to say, being in the museum.
Listen, Patty, listen.
Okay.
I'm talking about people who have been here 300-400 years. Do you know anybody whose family's been here 300 or 400 years, and we still know the names, those African names, those African words of the home, from quote unquote home?
Yes, of a certain age, because Mama Kiki is Esther. Her name Esther Armstrong. My Mama Kiki. She has an African name that I can't even pronounce. Is 73 years old. And her mother just passed. Her mother was like in her 90s or something. Her mother has come to the United States, but again, it's always the language. And I watch Mama Kiki, who's from Ghana. Then I have Nigerians come there because they have a real tight African, little African family. And they come through that museum and you don't know what the hell they're talking about half the time because the dialects are so different, because some of them speak strictly Guyanan.
Patty, I think you're missing my point. We very few of us know any African words that have been passed down. And I'm just thinking, how could we be in 300 years and we don't know any African words? I mean, is actually
nor do we know any African relatives to that point. If we look at relatives or distant relatives from different states or different parts of the country, different generations, you still won't see any Africans.
No, because they've died out. In my age, I'm 70. Those the ones that would be close to me have died out.
My great grandmother is 91 years old. She just turned 91 October the 4th.
God bless her.
You know what I'm saying? So it's even in tracing the genealogy, she is the one who told me about her grandmother who was an Indian.
Okay. So a lot of what we know is, I think his point is through oral tradition.
Yes.
That has been what has kept us going. What grandma told us. If I asked it once, I've asked it 1,000 times, and the answer is grandma said we were Cherokee. Grandma said we were Blackfoot. Grandma said we were Indian.
And that's what I was talking about when I said now it's the young people, because young people have expressed and learned more culturally and about the heritage because of what they've heard from ancestors and what they can put together. Because
that's what I'm telling you. They don't want nothing to do with Africa. And here's a pointed question I had no answer for. They say, what has Africa done for us?
That's a hard question, and you're not the only person that says it. But when I think of what Africa has done for us, it has been the textile. Many people don't talk about it that much, but the resources from Africa that have come here has allowed our country to build off of it.
No.
What about the resources in America?
For so-called African Americans?
It can only come down to the resources. I'm not saying that they don't come over here. Well, you're saying it like
the young people said Africa ain't done nothing for us. And I can't argue them. I can't name one thing and help me out. I welcome Hannibal. You're gonna wake up now. Come on now.
I'm here. I'm listening. I can't name one thing either.
Okay.
I can't name one thing Africans have. Now, I will say Gaddafi wanted to give Farrakhan $10 million, and we're on the verge of the Million Man March. Was 30th anniversary? Gaddafi wanted to give Farrakhan $10 million, and the American government said, no, that ain't happening.
But do you think it's a reason that Africans haven't given us anything? Because why should they trust us? Why should they want to do anything for us?
Really?
Why should we trust them? Why should we claim being African?
Right.
Because if they don't trust us, this is what I'm saying.
This ain't about this ain't from an African's perspective. This is our indigenous perspective from right here as melanated Americans. I can't name one thing.
They gave us their name. They put out their name in front of American to cover our identity along with.
They did not do that.
Yeah,
I'm just
Jesse.
Let's stay on point.
because they had their own. They had their own in their country. So just like indigenous people, they're here, and the information about who they are and what they accomplished, most of it has been erased or just whitewashed, just toned down. So
they got Henry Louis Gates' name on here. Henry Louis Gates, they say he blew the lid off the fake DNA ancestry companies. Yeah, but he also said that only 2 to 3% of melanated people in America had indigenous roots. And I think he was so far wrong.
I think he was wrong too.
Very wrong. And we look at, now I got to tell you this, the young people may, I think, argue that he was supported by Harvard. He went to Harvard. And so he's carrying that Harvard pedigree. Don't want to veer too far away from what mainstream thought is. I'll tell you something I looked up yesterday. Who are the greatest archaeologists in America? We can tell you so many things about Africa, about Egypt. We can name some of the 54 countries: Madagascar, Libya, Morocco, Nigeria, Niger, Congo, Mauritania. We can do that. But how much American history? What was going on here in 1100 AD? What was going on in this land? Do you know?
I want to say indigenous.
Because they would have us think this was just a straight, flat land and ain't nothing happened until the good old.
We know that was a lie. We know that was a lie because you're going to have some people that say Africans were already here, and you're going to have people that said the indigenous people were here, roaming the land and living off of the land. And then what happens? The colonizers come, and then they just take over everything. They felt like they found it. They are here first. Everybody else needs to leave.
They were not here first.
I truly believe people.
They were not here first, and they were savages. Yeah. They came here hungry. They came here hungry, looking like the non-black addicts in my alley.
Oh, stop. No, you didn't say that. No, you didn't say that.
They came here hungry. The Indians gave them corn.
Gave them
and
food.
To show their savage gratitude, they gave the Indians blankets with smallpox and called them savages and said that we were 3/5 of a human being. Meanwhile, they were feeding black babies to alligators in Florida. That is a savage. One person said that they were eating people. So you're a savage and a cannibal and a Neanderthal. Right. And you're going around talking about democracy.
Well,
and,
that's
and then you put the orange Teletubby in the Oval Office.
Well, that's what what people say is America's history. But we all know on this podcast know that isn't the true American history, because we can throw out narratives all day and pull out points about history. We can talk about settlers. We can talk about indigenous people. We can talk about enslaved people. We can talk about the wars and what Black people did for the wars and what they've done for this country. We can talk about that all day.
But the paper trail, if we go to Walter Plecker, the paper genocide, it has a paper trail to show where the confusion and where the misnaming came from. And it can show you, so it's not just theories or ideologies or scholarly work. It is really documented as to who we were as a people before the renaming and the reclassification.
Yeah, you're right.
At the museum, do you guys got any anything about our connections to the natives there?
To the the Indians?
Yeah, like you said, you got connections to the Piscataway. Do you guys got any connections there at the museum that shows?
No, the museum is African. The Piscataway is my family. That's my mother. That's who I was talking about when I mentioned the Piscataway.
Do you think that this need to be something that need to be taught to the children?
One more time.
Do you think that this is something that needs to be taught to the children, like the Piscataway?
Oh, absolutely. So we already know, and I go to school board meetings, and it's very sad because there are people that come to those meetings and constantly fight for more indigenous history and more African history. We don't have that yet. And again, a person of my era, I didn't learn about African history until I went to college because it wasn't taught in elementary school like that. All we learned was African American history. We learned about Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King. We didn't talk about anything else. That's what it was.
Is there anything that we can do to get this type of message that we're trying to get out here, that we got indigenous roots, instead of putting out the big African thing? And is there anything that we can do, like far as on the level that you're doing with the African thing, with this indigenous thing that we try to put to bear?
They have different organizations, and actually the mayor's office has an indigenous committee there. He has an indigenous, a Spanish, African. So he has people. And if you're in a school system, well, the schools sometimes reach out to those committees and ask people to come in. But the museum that I'm at, for outreach, I go and just talk to people and then bring them in and try to, continue to educate people in the school, and not just children, but adults too. Because there's so many.
Have you ever seen this picture right here? Have you ever seen this picture right here?
No.
It says America. These are some of the original renditions of the peoples here in this land, pictures painted quite often by Europeans. It says America. And we don't think of indigenous Americans as having that much melanin in their skin.
Indigenous people are all shades, just like Africans are all shades.
Well, when they paint the picture of the Indians in America, they're always referring to the Asians who came through the Bering Strait. Yes, so as if all Indians, the only Indians, are the ones that came through the Bering Strait. And we know that we have a lot of people. How about this one for you? Did you know Michael Jackson had Blackfoot and Choctaw roots?
No, I've never heard that.
Look it up. You know that boy can dance. And the thing is, all them kids in Africa be copying his moves.
Yeah, they do. Today, well, everybody practices moves all over the world. Japanese, Chinese, everybody practices moves. Koreans, everybody did his moves. Period.
Do you know about Califia?
I do not know that much about Califia.
So CALIF. You see the root word in that?
All right.
The root word Califians. I mean, this is a picture. I've come across it. Califians out of California. Califia was named after an African goddess or black goddess, a melanated goddess. It's a Spanish story, to my understanding. But these are indigenous people straight out of California.
Beautiful. Because Indians were everywhere. Oh, there it is, Queen. Yeah, Indians were everywhere. And like I said, when I went to that American Indian Museum in DC, and it is beautiful. It really is. So they have so many tribes in there. But I was specifically looking for the Piscataway, and they only had 3 pictures in there of the Piscataway tribes because they said as nomads, they were hiding from people. But they had so much more in there. It's beautiful. So yeah, Indians have a lot to tell. And when you go across the country, I mean, I've been down to the Seminole reservations down in Florida. And what made me sad about the Seminole reservations was the isolation. Because, you know, Florida just has everything. It's everything in Florida. But that reservation was so desolate. It was just out there by itself. One road in, one road out. If your car broke down, the alligators might get you on the side. I tell you no lie. It was amazing. And they get big checks. They have their own schools back there. I mean, they don't have to come out if they don't want to. It was beautiful. But that saddened me because the Indians are isolated.
But they are not the Indians. That's the concept, because these people who are controlling these reservations are the people who are keeping us from claiming our heritage as the true Native Americans. That's why we have an American Indian, Native American concept, because we allotted out of our identity. That's why they pushing the African concept on us as well, because this is who we are. It's not they. This is who we are. This us we talking about. We're not talking about somebody else. We talking about, when we talk about the coloration and the pigments of different people, these are the people who are infiltrating with our identity.
Oh, I totally believe that. And when I look at, because I'm not a curator, I can't tell you everything about Africa and everything that's in that museum. We do have a curator that talks about those things. But when you look at some of the masks and the faces that are on the masks, they're not all big nose and big eyes like, you know, it's depicted in books on how Africans are supposed to look. They're eyes that look like they're Japanese or Chinese. You know, Africans are all shades. Green eyes, blue eyes, you know, blonde hair, black as night or light skin. And Indians can be the same way, not can be, but are the same way. When you see them, long hair, short hair, black hair, curly hair, eyes are different color. Everybody doesn't have like the hook nose. That's the stereotype that you would always see on those pop westerns.
Have you ever seen this picture of an Indian, Patty?
I have. It's a beautiful picture. It's beautiful. I was looking at it when I was talking.
That's a melanated American.
Yeah, beautiful.
We don't see these pictures. We are only taught about Chicken George, Kunta Kinte, and Roots and Kizzy and Chicken George.
Yeah.
Imagine, so Patty, let me tell you, they took a whole bunch of our ancestors, like down in Virginia. People who had like Cherokee roots, Blackfoot roots, and they said, guess what? All of y'all are African Americans now.
Who said that?
Some white
and
men
who gives them the authority to say that?
Some white men sitting behind the table. Their whiteness gave them the authority to say it.
Yes. Yeah, that's the privilege. That's the privilege. So it's
not just privilege. Listen, Patty, when they did that, see, if you said you got Indian roots, so you go over there to the office and say, hey, I'm here to declare my indigeneity. And they say, oh, well, sorry, Patty, you are a Negro. That means that the land that you would have inherited because of your grandma, they'd have just X'd you off the list. And that came to a total of at least $5 billion in Virginia of land stolen, because they said, no, Patty, you're not Indian. You are African American.
Yeah.
And that's what this show is about exposing truth. All right, Hannibal, you got the floor. Come on now.
Well, look, I believe that we all, like you said, you got the Piscataway roots. You just got to remember that the Piscataway went into slavery as well, and they got classified as so-called African Americans. So the terminology that we use kind of hinder us in a kind of effect. You know what I mean? I think a lot of us, we look at our ancestry and we can't pinpoint in a certain specific time someone from the continent. You know what I'm saying? But we can pinpoint someone from this continent. So I think that we've been trying to attach ourselves to something that ain't trying to attach themselves to us. You get what I mean?
Yes.
So I think that we know our history here. So I think we need to pursue that here. And I think that we need to bring that more to the forefront, because if you are Piscataway, you got claim to that Eastern Seaboard. You get what I mean? Just like I do, you know? So that's the point of view that I think that we need to have, and that we need to share with this younger generation.
Yeah.
And like we know that, like we say, okay, we're playing the colorism thing, that there's a gambit of colors here in Africa, but we need to go ahead and actually say, okay, we are the people here. You know, even the Europeans know that we the people. Even majority of the tribes know we the people. It's just us not saying that we the people. And once we say we the people, we can move as the people.
Do you feel that there's amongst some younger people that just act like they don't even care? Do you think it's just a lack of not even wanting to know or become involved to know that history? Because like he just said, you heard things from your grandparents. Donnie said that you hear things from your grandparents. They told you. But there's some kids that don't even want to sit down and listen to the stories.
And
Let me
that's
just
true.
answer the question from the chat. They asked why do we have Patty on the show? We have Patty on the show.
Oh Lord!
And number one, who asked that question? Raj Shabazz. Don't let that smooth taste fool you. You feel in the smooth side. Don't make her go medieval on you, Raj Shabazz, because you might be sorry. But she is from our community. This is our big sister. Ain't no question. She's been on radio for quite some time. Harsh, you coming in or not? Because you've been doing all kinds of disco dancing back there. Come on in here, Harsh. We need you.
Peace.
Peace,
Oh,
brothers,
no.
man.
Where you been at, man?
Working, man. You know, New Mexico. I'm somewhere in Texas now, man. Headed to Alabama.
All right, you've been listening on the show. You got to tell the people why we got Patty on here. You know why she on here, don't you?
Well, I mean, I've been hearing her talk, and I think that she has a difficult time with grasping the concept of us being who we are. And so does everybody else, though. I find it, hard to, really fascinates me is that everybody wants us to be everything else except for indigenous to this land. They want us to be Hebrews. They want us to be Christians. They want us to be Africans. They want us to be African American. They want us to be everything else. Please find the well.
Hey, no. How's
How you doing,
everybody?
bro?
Good. Just handling some family stuff. But
I hope
glad
all
to
is
be
well.
here. Yes, everybody's good. Thank you.
Yeah, but like I was saying, how you doing, Miss? Is it Patty?
Yes.
Yes, I think everybody has a hard time grasping that, which makes me even lean towards it even more, because it's a small percentage. We're talking maybe 2 or 3% of our people have a grasp what we're talking about. And like I say, everybody wants us to be everything except for indigenous to Tamaree, or what they call Turtle Island. So,
Well, I feel sad that people feel that way.
Well,
I mean, I'm not going to advocate. I advocate human.
Look, Patty, read the screen. God.
I can't. I'm trying to get back in.
It says, I have great respect for Patty. Give me her phone number. No, I'm sorry. The time now is very important, and there's a lot to risk.
And then brother Mafia Shakur, man, you was hitting all the nails on the head, brother.
Yes, sir.
These people on these reservations, first of all, the Seminoles is not even a tribe.
What are they?
They were named by the Spaniards, Seminoles.
Oh,
And those were different tribes that came all across America to fight in the Gullah Wars.
Right.
is that why they were isolated that way? That's what I was saying. I felt bad, like they were so isolated.
That was the all-star team against the people like Andrew $20 Jackson.
When you say isolated, what people are you talking about? Because those people who you think are Seminole Indians are nothing but $5 pretendians.
Wow.
Those are not Indians. When you look in the mirror, you see the Indian when you look in the mirror, but they have us thinking that we came over here on slave ships. They within the last decade, out of the 350 to 450 years that they say that they brought us over here on ships, they have dived down in the river and allegedly found one ship. One ship out of 35,000 ships.
All right, Patty, you got a museum. You ever seen a slave ship?
Not in my museum, but I've seen them. And I've seen the slave ship down at the Reginald L. Lewis Museum and at the Cura-Colana in Curacao.
But
go ahead.
Those are fake. Those are fake ships. That's something that they made. Yeah, those aren't real ships that brought anybody in here. And like we have been trying to explain to people is that during the time of so-called slavery, they had cameras. That nobody took a picture of anybody bringing anybody over here, but they brought took pictures of people bringing European immigrants. So as much as they like to remind Black people of their demise, you would think that they say, hey man, we're gonna take a picture with this camera to remind these Negroes that they ain't never been nothing but slaves. They could even do that much. So nobody's buying that slave narrative anymore, except for the people who still latching on to it. But we are not African. We have blood ties and we are family with Africans, but we are not Africans. And another thing, and I'm gonna pass it to somebody else. When they arrived here on these shores in 1492, after being expelled from Spain, they probably counted approximately, I'm just giving a guesstimation, 300 million indigenous people that look like you and I. What happened to 300 million people? They just disappeared off the map. So they had to bring in some Africans in order for them to be moved out into the ocean. What happened to the 300 million people that were here? They look like us. And why can't there be a possibility that we are those 300 million people?
I can say there could be a possibility. I really do need to read a book on that, because that's a lot. What you're saying is a lot. So why is it, if they're trying to change this narrative about Africans and indigenous people, you're saying that they totally erased everything from all indigenous people? That's why we don't have as much as we have on the Africans? Like, where did it go? Where did the information go?
Because from time immemorial, we have always been the Michael Jacksons of the planet. See, everybody who comes after Mike wants to be like Mike. I don't care who they are. Chris Brown, Usher, what's my name? Chris Tucker. You can't, even the kids who wasn't even born when Mike was around want to be Mike. And that's who we have always been from time immemorial. So they had to come and they had to switch that up because of who we really are.
All right. Then there's a lot of documentation that even like somebody was talking about the government and go to the government and read the books. I agree. The government even call us the natives. It's just that, like, we don't agree. Like I keep on saying, we don't agree that we those folks.
So when they say, when the government calls us the natives, you're saying it's all indigenous and not African?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that even when they talked about the Seminoles or the Runaways or the Creeks, you go back at the government's records on the Creek Indians and Muskogees, they call them Negroes. They call them blacks.
Let me share some of these comments. This is from Shell the Lump. Thank you, Shell. You've been dropping some jewels. And by the way, Patty, that's a South American pyramid. They want
I've been there.
Oh, okay. They want us to. be everything else but who our ancestors tell us we are. And my parents told me that I am Indian. This is from Yehuda Lioness. TA slaves are here as an extension of the Spanish Inquisition. And we know we are not every native tribe, but our people came here with Solomon 3,000 years ago. Read. And one lady did say that, read a book. She said, read a book.
She said, read a book. Okay. I'm not against that.
So we are taught also never to question what we've been told. So let me ask you something. If they got a pyramid like this in South America, does it make
it's in the Yucatan?
Does it draw any connection to you to Africa? Does it make you think at all of Africa?
Absolutely, because this particular pyramid, Chichikan, they say it's the 8th largest pyramid in the world. And when I went, you couldn't go up the steps. It's a sin to go up those steps. But the technology of the way that this was built, you see that little hole at the top? If you're standing at the bottom and you clap your hands, sounds of birds come out of that hole. That's like some Indiana Jones stuff. When I was there, I said, this is amazing. So that entire complex made by the Mayans, it was made in the center of a field, and it operated by the sun. That's what I remember. Everything was done by the sun.
Africa or the Americas?
Say that again.
Who's got more pyramids, Africa or the Americas?
I've never really thought about that. Do you know the answer?
Well, Horace is getting ready to drop something on you that they didn't teach you in your, what elementary school did you go to?
Mary E. Rodman.
Or Mary Rodman ain't teach you this. You about to learn
Oh,
something.
of course not. I know that, absolutely.
Hit him with that mound, bro.
Well, yeah, we got.
I got you. I'm gonna hit it with your staple. You know this. I think it's the first thing when I think of Horace and them. You know what that is, Patty?
It's some type of ground, but I don't know what that is. You have to tell me what that one is.
It's a mound burial.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could tell it was some type of mound. Where is it located?
There are hundreds of them across North America.
Okay.
Like Patterson Park. Like Collington Square. Oh, that's right. You're a West Sider, like Mondawmin. Mondawmin is a mound pyramid.
Yeah. One of the first, I believe.
So essentially, they are cemeteries.
Well, some of them are.
Some of them.
Yeah. Well. The majority of the big ones like this aren't cemeteries, although there may be some high priest or chief or priestess buried in them, but most of those aren't necessarily cemeteries. They were like skyscrapers. Some are condominiums, some are storehouses where our ancestors kept their meats and their vegetables for the wintertime. And to keep them from being stolen by different tribes, etc., etc.
Right. Well, that's amazing. All of it. I can't even say it's amazing because everything that people of color have done is always amazing because we've always been survivors. So if that was a ground for them to live off of, just like the last picture of Chichikan with the pyramid, they survived off of that and took care of each other. But then again, they had their in-tribe fighting, and then that's how they ended up killing each other off because one was trying to be better.
I got something for you. Because if I done heard about black on black and native on native crime, I done heard it a million times. I watched the Western. I'm watching the Western right now, Billy the Kid. And that's nothing but white people killing white people. So why do we act like black people are the only ones that end up busting a cap on somebody? This is Pal Link, and special thank you to who said this? Where you at? I'm gonna find you.
Where is that one located?
South America.
Okay, what part?
Slow down.
They look like They look like Peru, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it does look like Peru.
But
Yeah, I seen one of the comments as well. The comment was saying that the Mississippi River is our Nile River. So how they talk about the Nile River in Africa and the resources of the land, and this is what the Mississippi is to the Americas.
To the Americas. Oh yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
All right, Pat, you get G-checked in real time. The lady said she keeps saying they killed us off. And the point is, you alive, I'm alive. So why you keep saying they killed us off? They killed some of us.
She keeps saying, I didn't say anybody killed us off. For Chicha Khan, I said they were killing each other off. That where that big pyramid was, because the tribes were growing, they felt another tribe was trying to take over, and they were killing each other off. That was the Mayans. That's who I'm talking about from that last picture. So I don't understand what she was saying, what her point was.
I think that particular story is fabricated, especially when I watched the movie Apocalypto, Mel Gibson.
Yes,
you know, which painted that picture as if our ancestors was just murdering each other like ruthless savages. We were never ruthless savages like the picture that they paint. And
well, yeah, the movie. I mean, and how factual was that movie? I'm not saying, I know all about that either. But bits and pieces were taken off with that movie. They were down in the cenotes, down in the water, but the tribes were moving along, and they did. I'm not saying they killed each other off, but they were killing each other. I truly believe that was a fact. And when I was down there, I went to some of the ruins in Belize. I went to some of the ruins, the biggest one that you just saw there. And those people, as they told the story, and I'm not saying all tour guides are correct, but that is what they said. As the tribes were growing, other tribes wanted to move into that area, and they did kill each other. They did kill each other.
I can't agree with that.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what was told to me from when I was at those places, the tour guides. And when you go on those tours, and I'm going to say this too, when you go on some of those tours, they're going to tell you what they want you to learn. And that's what you all said earlier in this discussion. But that's what was told to me.
Yeah.
Patty, that's why we must tell our own story. We must write our own books. We must do our own broadcasts.
Yes, I agree.
Own documentaries, because we don't need anybody speaking for us.
For us, I agree.
Okay, all right. Craig, you're giving a lot of orders. I'm trying to multitask this all at the same time. But he wants us to see. So that was Palenque.
Oh, Palenque people. I see that.
He wants us to see the Palenque people.
That's
people
beautiful.
Those. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you very much, Craig. I got you loud and clear. I can now add that to my library. All right, Hannibal, pull your weight now.
All right. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. 1 second.
Yehuda says, thank you, Brenda Bennett. Here she go with her E1B1A parade.
You guys see my screen? You guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's the picture of the people.
No, it should be a slide, should be a presentation. Hold on.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
So I think everybody got a basic overview of our history.
Mm-hmm.
You guys see Christopher Columbus here, right?
Right.
And then he wanted to discover the new world. Everybody know that. And then this one to kind of get kind of tricky, that when he kind of discovered these trade winds and stuff from over that way to get over here.
Mm-hmm.
See that? And then we go here. He was dealing with the Spanish and the Portuguese crowns at the same time. So this is some information that we got to keep in mind. And then at the time, the Spanish crown was Ferdinand and Isabella, and the Portuguese crown was King John. This before it became Spain. Spain was two two regions, Castile and Aragon. Then it became Spain, right? So you got the Catholics over there with Spain and Portugal, right? So they was on between Africa and Spain and Portugal. They was getting the Moors and all these people from the Canary Islands. You see what I mean? From these 5 places. And these people are called Guanches, and they Berbers and Africans. This is what they was doing in like the 1440s from over there. And they was taking these people back to Portugal and Spain with them. So these are these people that they took with them back to Portugal and Spain. Here another picture that you will see. These the Berbers and people from the Senegambia and the Aragon. See this name Aragon? Kind of like that name Aragon that I showed you. See there's a correlation, some linguistic correlations I see there. But then we get to over here in Hispaniola. That's when he landed. Columbus started landing. Most people don't know that Hispaniola is Haiti to the left and the Dominican Republic to the right. And the natives that was there, they were Tainos, right? These are the first groups that the Europeans say that they met was Taino folks. But this is how your Tainos look today, your Arawaks.
Okay.
So in essence, you see the headdress this young lady got on like that? Something like Portine was wearing. So keep that in mind. I said Portine was wearing like a headdress. You see how my man's hair is like that too? So where do the story of the African come in play? So you know that the African, it was said that Columbus met some Africans here, but Columbus didn't write that in his diary. A guy named Bartholomew de las Casas voted for him. He found this stuff called guanine. So I asked questions where there's ancient contact between the natives here and Africans. So that's just a question for us to ponder on. Then you got all these type of missions that was over here, like San Miguel de Guadalupe, and this guy here is at Lucas Vázquez de Leon. This is one of the guys who was down in Florida right there. You see these? So back to that one picture when I was talking about Ferdinand and Isabella, Spain, right? So at the same time, you have France. You see where I'm moving my thing at and it say Charles Fort right here?
Yes.
At that same time, like in 1558, you had the ruler of Spain, of France, named Henry II. He died, and his son came into play. I think his name was Francis II. And then he had a son named Charles, a 10-year-old king. And this is where the Charles Fort was named after a French 10-year-old king, 1562, because his dad and granddad died within 2 years, and he became king, right? So here's our story here. So it was up there in the Piscataway region, up there in Maryland, Virginia. They had a mission called the Ajacan mission, right? You had some Spanish people, Spanish missionaries came up that way, and they kidnapped this one Native American named Paquequenio, right? This is his name in Spanish, but his name, they took him for about 10 years, took him to Mexico, took him over to Spain. His name is Luis de Velasco, right? This is his Christianized name. But in reality, he's actually Powhatan's brother, Opakanawa, right? So let me keep going here. This is what happened when they brought him back here. The mission, this is why they say the mission failed. Opakanawa, I guess he met back up with Powhatan and they came and killed everybody at the mission. So this is the first start, like in the 1570s, way before 1619 in Virginia. So 1570, this happened with the Spanish up that way. So I'm gonna share something a little bit less next time with this next explorer right here, Giovanni de Verrazano. They got the bridge up in New York called the Verrazano Bridge. He was an explorer, and this is the people that he met right there in Rhode Island. So that's gonna be my next slide or next thing I'm gonna talk about on another show.
Well, one of the things that may help is that in the 1900s, the term gene was coined. And so genetics and the study of genetics and all that came after, right? Okay. So let's look at it this way. What was going on? How did people know who they were before that, if it was only started in around the late 1800s, early 1900s? They didn't even have a word for it. So I posit that the way they would know would be they would ask their mother or their grandmother, right? They would tell them who they are. Now, when the colonial list invasion happened, now you had people outside for the benefits of economics, uh, politics, land grab, are defining you with a name. An outsider is defining you with a name. That would be as though you went to China and told the Chinese people who were living there that no, you're not Chinese, you're Polynesian. They would look at you like you were crazy because they know who they are. They speak their language, and their mother and their father looks like them, and they tell them the story. You don't need an encyclopedia because you got your mama telling you who you are, right? So the illusion of going to the colonizer or the descendants of colonizer who grew up in that kind of colonistic reality to define you is a serious mistake. Okay, if you have family members who can tell you. To me, that seems pretty simple. So in my particular case, my uncle told me about his mother, of whom I met as a very young child, right? That she was full-blooded Indian. So I mean, what? That to me, that's the answer to the question. I don't need to go. I don't need to go to a school or an Ivy League school or this school. Okay,
One of the people in the
because I
chat
have an actual person in my family who can verify who they are. That's it.
Yeah,
End of
one of the
story.
persons in the chat just said that it's a cycle. It's an
Yeah.
everlasting cycle
Yeah.
with people of color. Period.
Yeah.
So Hannibal. So how did the 10-year-old king? How does that relate to King James from that 1500 period to the time when King James was said to come? And how does the Spanish and the French? The Spanish and the English. How does that coincide, or how do they bump heads?
And this is the thing that 10-year-old's mother was Mary Queen of Scots, and King James' mother is Mary Queen of Scots. So that's his brother. So that's how it all relates right there, and that Virginia area coming up there. So the English was more of on a Protestant thing. You had the Catholics and you had the Protestants. You had people that was Jesuits, and that's had to do with the Catholics. And you got these other people like the Presbyterians or these other groups, these Baptists or the Quakers, and all these different derivatives. And they was all at war with each other in the 1550s and 60s. So you got King James and his mother with France. And then you got Mary the First with England, and her sister Elizabeth the First. She kills Mary Queen of Scots, and they unite England and all that, Ireland, all that stuff over there, and they become one. You good? I mean, England, France, and all that dominion, which Henry I and all them people, they all becomes one under England and the British. And so that's why we got 13 colonies. That's when the 13 colonies came about a little bit later. Did I confuse anybody? I know I'm saying a lot.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
So from the unification of the Spanish and the British or the English, that was
the French and the English, because they were still, like pirating and privateering ships from the Spanish and stuff. So that's why when that story about all these ships coming over here is kind of, you can basically debate that, because it was treacherous on that Atlantic Ocean, bringing people here and cargo here.
Okay, Horace, what we got on the screen, Papa?
It's Google Earth something. It's Google Earth.
You got to unmute yourself, Horace.
Got these long pyramids that extend all the way from upstate New York to Alabama. And they have been parading them around as if they've been Appalachians. But we know that that's not the truth, because here we go right here. Check this out. And I said that I was going to, this is, okay, there we go. How about that?
Help me understand what I'm looking
What
at.
it is, yeah. Tell me.
Well, this is the same thing they do to the other pyramids on the land.
What is it? So this is pyramid underground or
no, ma'am.
Okay.
This is an Appalachian. This is one of them that they have turned into a rock quarry, evidently with carbonic fluids down in some of that green stuff or whatever. But we see this all across the land in every major city where there are pyramids, that they turn them into these rock quarries. Some of them still have the roofs on them, and a lot of them don't. But this right here is the equivalent of all the other rock quarries that we have been covering, for the last couple of weeks or so. And I got one more picture when I want to show you the difference between a Appalachian pyramid and an actual mountain, which is aside the pyramids. Here we go. Okay, Apple 2. Here we go. Yep, here we go. Right here, brother.
So this is an aerial view, correct?
Yes, sir. So now here we get a better. There we go. Bam, right there. Okay. So now pull that one up, Donnie.
You got to delete those other ones.
Okay.
They'll just stay there. Let's delete them.
There it is. Okay. So now these are mountains to the left. So
okay, where you see the green, where you see the green,
where you see the mountain terrains. This is what they look like across the entire globe, the planet Earth.
What does?
With these mountains.
Are these any particular mountains?
But no, these are the mountains that are across from the Appalachians. Because see, these to the right are the Appalachians.
So what's the name? They're just mountains. They're not named.
He just said these are the Appalachians.
But no, okay.
No, he said across from the Appalachians.
Okay, so the Appalachians are to the right, the mountains are to the left.
Oh,
the reason why I have the mountains here, so we can see the mountains. All the mountains on the entire planet have the same type of, raggedy, wrinkled structure. There are no mountains anywhere on the planet that look like these Appalachians, that look like railroad tracks, that they're turning some of them into landfills. And
the point is the ancestors possibly made the Appalachians in the mound pyramids, correct?
Yeah, because those lines are too straight. Those lines are too straight to be mountains.
Mountains. I understand what he's saying.
And if you look at them closer, I mean, like I say, I might have another picture that I gathered. Like if you looked at them closer, you will see like there's no way in the HELL that those can be mountains, with those lines that straight. But our ancestors have been here for millions and billions of years. They just want us to forget who we are. That's how come there's so much pushback with us saying that we from here instead of from Africa. Because if I was a person or a group of people who wanted the people to stay blind, I would have no problem with them thinking they're from somewhere that they're not. Go right ahead. Y'all want to think y'all from America? Be my guest. But they don't want us to say that. Okay, so here's the very last one I'm gonna put up on the screen.
And the Appalachian Mountains, they go along the 13 colonies, right?
Well, no, they extend all the way from
Canada down to what? North Carolina?
Yeah, no, down to Alabama.
Alabama.
I know McGilvery walked the Appalachians from Alabama to New York to sign that treaty.
So now show me some mountains that with lines this straight.
Yeah, where are we looking at, babe? This is a big picture.
This is the Appalachian. This is one of the. I mean, well, you know, there's so many of them. I can only capture what I can capture in one frame.
Right, but tell us what we're looking at. Are we looking at the middle, the right, the left?
Well, no, that this is just one of them. This is okay. This is 1, 2, 3 of them. You know, you got a lighter green, and then as we come back toward us, we got 2 darker greens because of the germinations that they put on them. But there's so many of them, and if I was to, you know, zoom out to try to get a picture, you couldn't see them for what we're looking at right now. But I just want everybody
what am I
to
looking
take
at though, cuz?
Okay. Well, I mean, we're looking at Appalachians. Just look at the one in the middle. See the one in the middle?
The one in the middle look like a road.
No, in the middle where it has a green, like it's a line. It's just a big straight line.
In the middle up the top, in the middle.
In the middle of the screen, period.
So does somebody say were people living? What were they doing along here to create this type of structure? This type of movement in the earth. What was that?
We have mounds that cover miles and miles and miles of mounds. So whatever technology that they were using at the time was far advanced enough for them to build these type of structures, and they stand in the test of time and without moving an inch. But there's no mountains anywhere. I don't even think that in the laws of physics that a mountain can be created like this. This is geometrically sound. Look how straight that line is.
Yeah, so we really can't even say it's a mountain. It's a flat dugout structure. That's what I'm stuck on. So
we say dugout. What do you mean? These things are.
Give me some more pictures. Something I can really look at and tell what it is.
I see how it's shaped. So that made me feel like it was dug out on purpose.
The first one that I showed was dug out, but these here are probably about 500 feet high or taller.
See, we can't tell that from this picture.
Oh yeah, from the picture you can.
You know it because you saw them firsthand. You give us something else. Give us more.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give you what I got just so far. Let me pull this one up because this is the last one because I was trying to do this, you know, before I had to go to sleep. But here we go. T.
And okay, so somebody wrote in there, most likely it was a city. What made you go to that spot to take these pictures?
Well, you know, my ancestors, they hit me upside the head a couple of years ago and made me realize what was going on.
Okay. And
that's all.
They said, go out there and take them pictures. Go take them pictures.
That's legitimate. Okay, so now y'all see these winding straight lines right here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, those are actual Appalachians, and they curve. So, you know, I get better ones. But again, I had just took this particular picture to show what mountains look like. Mm-hmm. And the mountains are at the top of the screen. Okay. So I don't care where you at on the planet. You could be here, Africa, Australia, California. Mountains look like that. Mountains don't look like straight lines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'd be curious to know if you go down and pick up parts of the earth. You know how they do those tests where they pull the dirt up from like dug really deep, and they can tell you what was going on, what year that dirt and rocks came from. I would really like to know.
Well, see, the method that they use for those, well, for creatures that inhale carbon, they can use the carbon dating method based on the carbon that settles in their in their bones over the course of years, and then after a certain amount of years, which is 35,000, they can't go past 35,000.
Okay.
So when they get to 35,000, what they do is they start going into the nitrogen phases of trying to give you a number. But all of their numbers, for the most part, be inaccurate, as well as something to throw you off. But they don't want to tell us is that we've been here for billions of years, not thousands. Thousands is a small number, like a cup of water in the ocean. But I don't know if you guys can see these, but these they were able to travel along these all the way down. That's just like I see the sister in the comment said that there's pyramids in Chicago, and so the rock quarries that sit on I-80 in South Holland, which is the south suburb of Chicago. The people don't know that rock quarry has a tunnel that goes all the way to downtown Chicago, which is probably about 50 or 60 miles away from South Holland.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's true. Indians were always digging tunnels, going from place to place.
We are those Indians that you're talking about.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, we are those Indians. Those Indians that we see, that look like who could I say that they look like? What's my man name?
Bill Cody.
Yeah, they look like Flo Rida.
Oh, Flo Rida.
Yeah.
I mean to laugh.
They look like him or DJ Khaled. Those are not Indians.
Okay.
Them Johnny come latelys.
I get what you're saying. Yes, yeah. You're talking about like they look like they're Indians from India, like that type.
But Mexican. Well, see that movie, Apocalypto. Go back and watch it. At the end of the movie, when they get the credits, all of the stars in the movie were Spanish people.
Yeah,
Hispanics.
Yeah. Well, they did that when they would make those spaghetti westerns. That's what they did because they know no better. That was just the ignorance.
No, they knew, but they just didn't want us to ever figure out who we were. That's why there's so many people against us saying that we from here, as opposed to just letting us go on and thinking, hey, y'all want to think y'all from there? Be my guest. Y'all stay lost in the sauce, but they know that we're remembering and that we know that we have been here for eons. So that is becoming a problem because now as we wake up, the earth wakes up as well.
That's it.
I agree. I totally agree with what you're saying. And it is about educating yourself. And it's hard when so much has been hidden and erased. Yeah. So, you can always say, yeah, you're going to get it from your grandparents, but some grandparents never repeated it. Some people just were silent. So people missed out. I felt like as a young kid myself, when my grandfather talked about those Piscataway Indians and would go all out in Dakota and bring home stuff, I didn't understand. I couldn't grasp all of that because I was so young. So if somebody constantly filled me in to help me educate so that I would know where to look, I'm not going to know where to look.
I agree with you on that. Like you say, it's been hidden and wiped away, but they gave us something in place of that as a pacifier. So once we can get rid of the pacifier, we can further uncover these hidden truths.
These hidden truths.
Also, clearly there was a different frequency or a different point of interest with indigenous cultures, period, right? So the one thing that they have in common of the ones that I've studied around the world is, as well as here, as well as in South America, is a reverence for spirituality, right? Now, the European colonizers that came, right, didn't quite share this. Now, I understand that there's the perception that there was some good, and those were primarily the religious who were the missionaries. Well, the missionaries were on a mission, right? Then I also say, well, we can look towards the gold rush. So Horace is showing you all these incredible monuments, these incredible structures and whatnot. None of them led to a gold rush. And even in Hollywood movies, when they depict that era, you see the deceit and you see the malfeasance that they will do to each other just to get to gold. Okay? Now, the goal for the indigenous represented a more spiritual quality that related to the sun
Yes.
on earth.
Yes.
But that's a qualitatively different thing. You would not kill for gold. You would have more reverence for it, and because you're more connected to the earth and the land as sacred.
Yes.
So we that's why the question is so complex, because it's on multiple different levels, and you cannot go to the so-called authority because it's hard to trust the authority when they have been lying to you for eons.
Right.
So that's what makes this group so enticing, because it's an opportunity for all of us to talk, share, and discover our actual true roots, so that we can continue on our moving forward. Is very, very important program.
True indeed.
True.
Yes, sir.
I always, like somebody said, do your genealogy, and that's the first step. You know, document them stories that your grandmama said. You know, you like you said, you got Piscataway roots. That's the Algonquin speaking tribes there. You know, I got what they call Piscataway Kanoi roots. So I'm a CONOY. I hope I'm not butchering the word, but I'm gonna learn. You know, I'm gonna learn more about them. So I think that's how we hold reverence and keep that spirituality.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yes, sir. So have you learned anything here that you can share with your people back at the museum, Patty?
That they Patty gone.
Here.
She might have felt.
Oh, there I
Say
it again.
I was saying, did you learn anything today that you could share with your people at the museum, and maybe incorporate our history as natives there as well?
So that's something that could be a program. Like if somebody came to me and said, can I come to your museum for a day and have a panel discussion about indigenous people? That would be the type of thing that we could do. And try to make a connection. Because I'm going to tell you, when we did the African ancestry and we had a reveal, there were two people in that audience that came up Native American. And the two people that happened to, they got mad. And we were saying to them, why are you mad? Because you're learning your history and who you are. Just because it's not telling you you're African doesn't mean any different. You know, being indigenous is very important. It's just knowing who you are is very important, period.
It's important to you. It's important to us on this panel. But we have been taught something else, Mafia Shakur, for 400 years.
Yeah.
We have had some people who don't know their own damn history, because if Europeans knew the first Europeans were melanated, they might be a little different. I mean, everybody knows that the Italians look darker than the rest of the Europeans because they're right on the Mediterranean. Everybody knows that Hannibal went up into Rome on the backs of elephants across the Swiss Alps.
That's right.
We are not new to this. We are the indigenous peoples on every continent on Earth. Yeah. So if more people knew this, then few of us would be shamed for our indigenous or even Latino roots. I have a Puerto Rican grandfather, but that's not a story I readily shared growing up. One, because it ain't nobody's damn business, but I can only imagine if somebody said to me, "Oh, because we got the feedback when our first video over a decade ago. Oh, why Donnie want to be anything but black? I just want to find out who my damn ancestors are. What's your problem with it? Why don't you find out who your ancestors are?" Yeah. We had on this show years ago, Dr. Helen, God, her last name has escaped me. Dr. Helen, she did the first protest at the Reed's drugstore during the civil rights movement here in Baltimore. But anyway, Dr. Helen always said that she did not have slavery in her roots. And I never met a Black person who shared that before. I never also met a Black person who did their genealogy back at that point, 150 years. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people can't go back generations. And I'm talking about people in countries that you would think, wow, I know you know who your ancestors are, whether it's France, whether it's Egypt, whether it's South Africa. A lot of people cannot go back multiple generations. And a lot of the stories, you know,
the other thing
somebody told us.
Yeah, the other thing is the advent of religion as opposed to spirituality. Now you know that it was illegal to teach a melanated person how to read and write. Yeah? Okay. Now, but when they lessened that, right? The book that they taught people how to read was the Bible. And they utilized the Bible as a true history book. Okay. So once again, you have a foreigner coming to your land where you have your spiritual traditions
already
in place in reverence for the land, the planet. And now you're adopting a book that was written by the people that came over here on a boat to colonize you and take your resources.
Yeah.
So to me, it seems like that would be the point of your inquiry, to ask yourself, why are you blindly following this? Most people's reference to history is the Bible. Right? That's what it is.
Yeah, that's it. That's
so
it.
this
Yeah.
process of unlearning is tremendous. It is tremendous. And I don't care what age you are. If this comes to you at 80, it comes to you at 80. If it comes to you at 10, it comes to you at 10. If it comes to you at 15, it comes to you at 20. The main goal is to constantly keep inquiring to know your truth. And you go to the closest people to you is your family. You see what they know and see what that leads to. But there is a revival of spirit that is undeniable, that we through this show and through other shows, this ain't the only show, but there is a movement now to know the truth, to get deeper, and the deeper we get, the more spiritual we will get.
I 100% agree with that, because right now young people are hungry for that exposure. Once you're exposed to it, then you just want to dig and learn and learn. That's how I am. You're never too old for learn. That's what you're on earth for. And those who learn must teach. Those that know must teach.
So that's why we want to show everybody who's watching the show a page out of the slave Bible. Yes, there was a slave Bible. It was not the 66 books that we know. As it says here, it was selected chapters, select parts of the Holy Bible. And I'm sure they got in there, slaves, be loyal to your masters, because that's when I burned that whole damn book up. Because you put a chain on me, I'm going to put a chain on you, your mother, your father, and everybody with you.
I've seen things out of this Bible, and I saw it on the island of Curacao. They had this transatlantic slave museum there, and they had quotes from this Holy Bible. And when I looked at it, to me, it was all holy and brimstone. Like, if you don't do this for your family, if you don't do this, then you're not going to survive. If you don't do this, your family will perish. To me, it was very scary. I didn't find it as something calming that as a slave, I would want to read. If I was a slave, I wouldn't want to read that. And again, who wrote that? Who wrote that Negro slave Bible?
Correct.
Hey, I remember when I was a kid, I want to say 9, 10, you know, somewhere in there. My grandparents' church on the west side of Chicago, they had a movie that they played, and it was sometime during the week. It wasn't on a Sunday or anything like that. But the name of the movie was The Rapture. Man, you think Damien was scary or Hellraiser? Man, after I saw that movie, I had to go get the Holy Ghost because I was scared to death.
Well, the thing that woke me up, that started my inquiry, is my father, who was a deacon in a church, gave me a Bible. And, you know, when my father gives me things, I took it seriously. So I opened the Bible up and I read the first page, which was the King James Version of the Bible. So I immediately went to my father and said, "What is this book?" And he said, "Oh, no, this is the book. This is, you know, the Word of God." And I said, "Well, why would there be a version?" And that started because he couldn't answer the question.
So, Patty,
So
for
why
your
would you need a
information,
version?
okay.
So it's not the truth.
Okay.
I'm
All
sorry,
right, so,
it's not the truth.
so Patty, in addition to the Bible, here's some other. This I don't know if you ever heard of the principles of Maya. You said you found the Bible to be fire and brimstone. Well, I have come across this. I don't know if this non-Afro crowd is going to like it, but it has a different way of dealing with sin. I have not committed sin. I have not committed robbery and violence.
Oh, that's
I have
interesting.
not stolen. I have not slain men or women. Is that a little more palatable to you?
Yeah, it would make sense.
Right.
I have
It
not.
would make sense
I have
because
not
you
assaulted.
these are like affirmations
I have
that
not
somebody
stolen
would
what
read.
belongs to God. I have not overstepped my boundaries.
I've not been an
concern.
eavesdropper.
Yeah, signifying worse than stealing. Y'all know what that means?
Absolutely.
What signifying worse than yeah, I have an
On
idea.
the sideline or something, right?
Signifying is worse than stealing. Minding somebody else's business is worse than stealing.
Yep, mind your business, child. That's grown folk stuff, child. Mind your business.
All right. So we've been on here for $1.50. Let's go around the horn. Mafia, you've been quiet.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think we all been saying it, but it starts with the education. If we think that education starts in Africa, that's going to be our beginning point. So if we don't come from a global aspect, then we will neglect the history of America that come from that same span of time that we're talking about. So diving deeper into the knowledge base of the so-called biblical or the beginning of time, the antiquity aspect of Indigenous America.
Yeah. I also believe that we need to take a closer look at why they was using this religion and why they was divided and because if you look at us as a people, we the total compendium of their religious. You know what I'm saying? We got everything. We repeat everything that they do. So I think we need to take a step and analyze this: the what, where, who, when, and why, and then we'll get a better understanding of why we're in this predicament.
Yes, and I would say to explore.
Speak up, Planet.
I would say to explore the word spirituality. Just don't use it. Find out exactly what it is, how it differs from religion. Okay, because in other words, the preoccupation of all of these indigenous ancient cultures that made all these magnificent things is they happen to be really possessed by this idea of the pursuit of the spirit. So we need to explore that. Just explore. Don't take it, well, I'm spiritual or this or that. No. Really look at it. Really look at it and see what it is. Just see what it is.
Ours?
Well, you know, I think that one of the main things that is overlooked is the Bible is not world history.
Correct.
You know, according to that particular, whatever you want to call it, uh, uh, Adam and Eve was only created what 6,000 years ago.
Correct.
So what happened before 6,000 years ago? But we know, I don't. You really like to get into those conversations, but the thing is, to see, there's a reason why they don't want us to know we're from here.
Very
Like
true.
I said, you can take a look. Anything that we do in this day and time, I don't care if we cut off, one of our pants legs and wear it around our neck. Next thing you know, somebody gonna be doing it in Africa, in Japan, and you name it. Only because we do it, because we were always the nucleus of the planet over here. And I mean, it's not an egotistical thing. That's just the reality of it, because there's so much focus on us in every facet that we could possibly think of. And I always use the golden child as an example. You keep all of these distractions on all four sides at all times. That way you never know who we are. But once we find out who we are, it's a wrap for anybody who comes against us. And I don't know if you're familiar, Miss Patty, but I came up with a thing called a Million Matriarch March.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all the matriarchs, especially on this land, but they're welcome to join anywhere. And if anybody has any type of way to get into contact with Sister Myra, please do so, because she's a master astrologist and astronomer. And she could tell us the perfect time when the correct portals will be present in order for us to do this. But y'all sisters are the ones.
In order to do what?
March.
To get on top of one of these mound pyramids, if not a number of them, and sing and dance the right vibrational tunes. And like I said, I can guarantee you, when that takes place, people are going to feel the earth shift, because we have the power. That's how come Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity is more powerful than a hydrogen bomb. That's not a figurative statement, it's literal.
I feel like our unity is growing. Our unity is growing because now more than ever, there's so much information available to you if you want to find it out. And yes, I understand people have lives, people have different ideologies, people believe in have different political beliefs. But if you find one thing and work on that one thing that you could maybe share with others, because there's so many cultures out there, that's how you learn to actually get along with one another, because you're going to stop hiding it. Just bring it out there. That's who you are individually. So for children that need to learn this as they're growing, they have to have that exposure so that they can make a viable decision. They can learn about Africa. They can learn about indigenous people in America and where we were. But they have to have that exposure. So it's about each one teaching one.
I want to thank Craig for putting this on the screen. This is about the Boston Kings. You can look it up for yourselves. Look up Boston. Look up Kings of Boston. What did he put? Craig, put it up there again for me. Do you see that black man well-dressed in that war? This is the Revolutionary War.
Yes.
And they were saying that there were black kings all throughout New England. They never taught us this in school, Hannibal.
Later.
Never taught me.
When you have never seen that black man dressed like that nowhere in your American history books. And see, this is also important for non-black people, because a lot of non-black people, they come to this country and they ignorant. I'll tell you something, and I don't mean no disrespect, but I'm walking down the street and 2-3 people from India come walking up the street. I'm walking straight through the middle of you. I'm telling you. Because if you don't see me, I don't see you. If I'm invisible to you, you're invisible to me. I was walking down the harbor with my daughter. It was on a Sunday. She was a little girl, and it was about 7, 8 non-black people coming towards us. And I said, you will not move. We are walking straight through the middle of this. Because there's always the presumption that we're supposed to move.
But I love seeing
Patty, you're a couple years older than me, but you never had that experience, especially down the harbor, have you?
Oh, what do you mean that people don't move? Absolutely, I've had those experiences. I've had some worse than that. When I was at College Park, I'd be in the elevator with white people that would call me a jungle boogie.
Mm.
So, I've never been afraid to say who I am or cuss somebody out and tell you who the hell I am. And when I see pictures like this of this black man, I'm just go back to this picture because it's very important. I never saw pictures like this until I went to Paris and was in the Louvre.
There we meet. I share that with you. That's exactly what happened to me.
Yes.
I went to the Louvre and I saw those original paintings.
Those original paintings.
And I said with the egg yolk magenta. Because I'm an art student, so I know the trip. Right.
Beautiful.
Okay. Now, when you're looking at the one that is currently on the screen, right?
Thank you, Craig.
All you have to do is meditate on that image right there.
And
that's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
So what is he doing there?
Yeah.
Trying to shoot every person in front of him.
Dressed like that. Looking like that.
Yeah. And another place, if you ever get to go to Italy in Pompeii, they uncovered a whole section in Pompeii that with black people ran up under this building trying to hide from Mount Vesuvius, and they weren't slaves. They were rich black people. What were they doing? Who were those people? And they were unearthing it and trying to tell the story. Those things blow my mind. But it helps me to believe that, like I said in the very beginning, our history did not start with slavery because we, as indigenous people, as people of color, have been there and done many things. That's all I can say. I thank you all for allowing me to be on this panel with.
Yes, I appreciate you.
Could you share something? Could you share your information for our viewers?
Yes. So my name is Patty Smith. I'm the director of outreach, and the name of the museum is Sankofa. Sankofa's Children's Museum of African Culture.
Okay.
Sankofa's Children's Museum. And understand, I always talk about that Sankofa bird because that bird's head is turned backwards and it's telling you to know your history, learn from that history, and the feet of that bird are going forward. And it's telling you to always move forward. And as a people, we have to always move forward. Know what it's great. Know what it is, but move forward so we can teach everybody else.
Oh, hold tight, Patty. Before you go, I want you to know that this is a picture of Boston King. That was his name.
Oh, Boston King. And the
Boston King. And he was back during the Revolutionary War. Some blacks fought with the British.
Mm-hmm.
And they became, after they lost, they became expatriates and had to haultail up out of here. So they went to the nearest safe place, which was Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
For those serious students of our history, the people from Nova Scotia were then sent where? They were sent to Liberia.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was an emigration, not immigration. There was an emigration movement to take people from here to Africa.
And hey, Miss Patty.
Yes.
I want you to, participate in the Million Matriarch March when we get everything.
Hey, y'all can't draft it. Yeah, you wanted to come back on the show first. Oh, let me calm y'all down. Calm down, fellas. She'll be back.
I know she was coming back. I wanted to
go hard,
plant that seed.
Patty, are you gonna come back? Can you handle this?
I will come. I do anything for you, Donnie. You
Okay,
know,
calm down, Horace. Ease up, Chi-Town.
My fault, brother. My bad.
No, man.
Horace, let's go around the horn. Tell them who you are. Mafia, you started off.
Mafia Shakur from Baltimore. I study life and history, science, politics, and I do music as well.
Okay, good enough.
I'm Hannibal James from Detroit, Michigan. I'm a family genealogist and historian.
Bam. Planet Wells.
Spiritual inquirer.
Horace Lee, Washita Chitimaca, Choctaw by way of Chicago, Illinois.
Oh yeah, Hannibal. Hit off with them names, Hannibal.
As far as the make,
Stop playing, man. Go ahead and drop them receipts, man.
Well, my people come down from Coosa County, Alabama. We are Muskogee people from the Alabama tribe. We got an extensive genealogy of a bunch of tribes that come from down that way. So we are amalgamation. I know I got Saponi, Otu, I got Pima from out west. I got a lot of tribes. Cheru, Cheraw. I got
Tell her that fancy saying you had Sapa Pony, that little slick thing you got.
that's what the Saponi in North Carolina call themselves. Mona Suckapona. That's why we say Saponi. It's Suckapona. That come from out of Saskatchewan, Canada.
That sounds like a pickup line, don't it, Mafia?
Yes, sir.
Pony girl.
It's a black
What's your phone number, girl?
Oh God.
Yeah.
So are we doing the libations list tonight?
Yeah, but hold up, Mafia Shakur, they want your contact information. They looking for you. And great job, Hannibal, because it ain't always Hannibal be hitting me. Nope, Hannibal, you got your shot. Shoot your shot.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
And we got a private chat, so you can put your information in the private chat.
Yeah, keep it private. Absolutely.
Yeah, Mafia Shakur, you can reach me on I'm on Facebook, Mafia Shakur.
No. You can put that in the comments. Put it in the comments. That way they got it.
All
right, Horace, you got the floor. Hold tight, Patty. You appreciate this because I know you like real. You like the real, right?
I like the real.
You don't like no fake bacon. You don't like no turkey bacon. You want to eat bacon. You want to eat real bacon, right?
Yes.
Damn, man.
Okay, I want to give honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, to the great Queen Neitha of Chicago, Illinois, the most honorable Empress Badayasi, Chief Redbird, Chief Warhorse, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm El Shalik El Shabazz, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, Dr. Delbert Blair, the Honorable Taj Tariq Bey and Dr. G, Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. Francis C. Wilson, Dr. Ari Connor, Sister Shahrazad Ali, Mama T, Vicky Dillard, Sister Myra, Dr. Joy DeGroot, Professor Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, C. Freeman Hill, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jay Guevara, the Honorable Dr. Malachi York, Omali Yashatila, Julius Malema, President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, the beloved brother Bobby Hemmett, the Honorable Reverend Phil Valentine, Nellie Fuller, Fred Hampton, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Anthony T. Browder, Dr. Booker T. Coleman, Professor James Small, and the sister on YouTube by the name of LaChris, Dr. Rod Hayes, Steve Coakley, Billy Carson, 19 Keys, Dane Calloway, Karimo Ahua, Rizza Islam, the legendary Top Cat, my good brother Tariq Nasheed, Dr. Sebi, Dr. Leila O Africa, Yaki Awakening, King Randall, Magic 363, the beloved brother Doni Glover for providing us with this platform to reach our people, the Honorable Planet Wells, the beloved brother Hannibal James, the young and wise and intelligent brother Mafia Shakur, and our beloved sister Patty W. Smith, and all of our viewers who are 100% down with us with no questions asked.
Ashe.
Billy Glover, Doc Glover. Shout out your ancestors.
Rose Lee.
And
Jones.
Steve O.
Al,
Smith,
Alma
Elmer
Goodman,
Jones,
Johnson,
Sun Ra,
Carrie
Bessie
Robinson,
Hazel Smith,
Ali Lilland,
Johnson,
E. Rodney Jones,
Luther
Natalie
Holman, James Holman,
Amanda Jones.
Leona Holman.
Planet Wells, you got the final word. Give us something spiritual. Take us home.
It's all inside.
Speak up. Speak up.
It's all. Can you hear me? It's
A
all
little better.
It's all inside you. God did not go to Walmart to make you. He didn't go to Sears. He didn't go to J.C. Penney. There's only one God. That source took from himself to make you. That source is in you. Connect with it. No fear. This time is your time. Lift yourself up through the inside of your deepest part, which is bathed and surrounded by silence. Silence is your friend. Make a connection with that stillness and grace that brought you here, will protect you and protect your family. And the highest truth, the highest love sent to you and your family on your journey.
Ashe.
Ashe and amen. We'll be back on Thursday at 8 o'clock. Please like and subscribe. Do share this with a friend. Patty, anything you want to say before we leave?
I did not. It was such an honor to be on the call with such strong, brilliant Black men. I love it.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much.
we appreciate you. And
Totally.
hopefully you come back sooner than later.
Okay, absolutely.
Totally.
Well,
See you soon.
all right. Bye-bye.
Peace, everybody. Peace.
Good evening, world.